And so it may cut out. Don't worry about it. It's just a matter of making sure that the connection is sound and we look halfway decent. I got my bow tie on today. I'm kind of fly.
Should have dressed up a little more.
No, you need to be as comfortable as you want to be, because we're gonna talk and
you're gonna grill me, so I need to.
No, not grill. I just want people to know you, and you've been traveling, you've been working it now for a long time, so I want people to, because if you don't go out to events everywhere, or if you're in, like you said, right, if you're not in Kosciuszko County when things are going down, then how are you gonna know? Okay, we got 15 seconds. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black. Wow, the sun is shining. We're back in our booth, our spotlight booth, right here at the Officeplex at 10th and Jefferson. Feel free to drop by and wave at us in the window. We don't mind. RadioNext.tv, we're doing it live all the time, all community, all the time. Find us, support us, become a sponsor of the show, become a sponsor of the radio station. You can find us on the TuneIn app. We're everywhere. You can get us on the internet. You can get us on the phone, your iPhone, your whatever device. I'm a tech chick. If you find yourself in a little trouble about how to download the app, give me a call. I'll make sure I get you covered. All right. I hope everyone had a fantastic week. I know I have. First of all, I'm still got goosebumps from Linda Lawson. I don't think y'all know how much I love her and respect her. She's one of my for real super sheroes. Not just a shero, like a super shero. She's just that chick. And I love her to death. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. I keep saying chick and I'm not supposed to say it. I love her like that. So I got to share with you guys something that to my listeners who don't always follow me on Facebook and my listeners. I had something happen to me yesterday, and it wasn't really so much that it happened to me. I was a part of an amazing experience. The Michigan City Area Schools Adult Education asked me to speak at their graduation ceremony last night. And if you know my story a little bit, you know that I too was an adult learner. I didn't go back to college till I was 35, and I didn't get my MBA till I was 43. If you know my wife's story, you probably don't. She actually dropped out of high school, but eventually turned it around, got her GED, and then got her bachelor's degree, and then started a business and has been incredibly successful. When they asked me to do this show or do this program, it was in the middle of the week, and I was like, man, that's a long drive for a work night. That's 2.5 hours up, 2.5 hours back. And I was like, oh my goodness. But when I thought about it, it really all of a sudden just hit me at one time. And it was, no, this is you. This is your graduation. And these folks have already beaten the odds. And they have already persevered more than anyone thought that they would. Yeah, you're going to make that drive up. It was an honor and a privilege to speak to these young folks. And they had students come up and tell they give a testimony about how they got from where they dropped out of high school and didn't feel like that they could make it until graduation. And one of the stories, obviously there were some stories of young women who had gotten pregnant, or there were just guys who were like, I didn't think it was my thing. But there was a young lady who was differently abled, and she had been told her whole life that she would never amount to anything. And she was told that she would never be successful because of her different abilities. And she took to the podium and she told her story about how she just kept going no matter what these folks were telling her about her abilities, and she graduated. And so I'm sitting on the stage like trying my best to not show any tears, but you can't help but to feel for folks who beat the odds. They don't do what is expected. See, sometimes when you're expected to do something, it doesn't seem so bad or seem so difficult or seem so strange. But when you do what is not expected, man. So being able to deliver that speech and their theme, can you imagine this? Their theme, be inspired and follow your passion. I don't know nobody like that. I don't know nobody like that at all. We don't know anybody that is inspired and feels their passion. Not Indiana's own, absolutely not. So I got 3 rants today. That's it. 3, because I want you guys to get to know Jim Harper. I want you guys to know how hard he's working. He has been he's my guest tonight, and I want to make sure that I give him all the time in the world. He is running a statewide race, so I want to make sure I get him in. But first, I want to talk about the new report that came out to talk about Indiana's environment. You already, why? See, this is the part that kills me. We have this Republican supermajority in our state house, yet we sit at the top of all the poor numbers and at the bottom of all the good ones. So I'm going to ask you, what good has that supermajority been to the lives and to the environment of Indiana? Sounds to me like, they want us to be the trash can. Let me just give you just some basic statistics that came out in the IndyStar this week. 48th for quality of life, which we've already talked about before. 46 for natural environment. We have more toxins and pollutants that are going up in the air than 45 other states. 42nd for eco-friendliness. Of course we are 42nd eco-friendliness. We pass bills like SB 309, which de-incentivizes solar, wind, and other kind of alternative energies. Of course we are. Pollution, we are the 6th worst for toxic chemical releases. And we're 46th in air quality. I was talking about that 2 years ago in the campaign. But, we are number 1 in something, and I want to make sure we all know what that is. We are number 1. We are first in the number of coal ash ponds. Now, I hate that they call them ponds. You know me, I call them coal ash pits. Coal ash pits, because that's what they are. And you know what? We're not doing anything collectively from a policy standpoint to try to correct these things. This is what has me disturbed. We have people who are continually running for office saying they are leadership, and this is what Hoosiers want. Hoosiers want to breathe. I don't care what else you're talking about. Hoosiers want to breathe. They want clean air and clean water. We're already in dire straits in many of our areas because we don't want to take care of the infrastructure needs that we have. And one of our towns and cities is on its way to publicly being known as Flint, Michigan. And I say that publicly being known because some of our towns and cities are already there. Y'all just don't know about them yet. We have so much work to do. and the other side, you know what they're arguing about? Instead of talking about a quality of life and making sure that our environment, we have clean air, clean water, and that we're doing things to be sustainable from an eco-friendly point of view, they're arguing over whether or not the language in their platform should say traditional marriages should be between men and women. I'm sorry, say what? You keep on poisoning us, it's going to be between a man and a billy goat. I know y'all, listen, if we don't fix our environmental issues, do you really think it's going to matter what a traditional marriage looks like? First of all, how dare you try to suggest what is traditional? What's traditional for you and what's traditional for me are two different things. Don't tell me. I like hot sauce. Do you? It's traditional for me to keep Reds in the refrigerator. Is it traditional for you to keep Reds hot sauce in the refrigerator? I don't know. It might be. It might be not. But should I criticize you and down you and tell you that I'm not going to support you because you don't keep Reds hot sauce in your refrigerator? See, these folks don't mind telling you that they are down with or without what kind of marriages, but they don't have a problem taking your tax dollars for their salaries. They may not like your traditional family. They may even despise your traditional family, and they may even create policy that hurts your family, but they will take your money every time you get a paycheck. See, I have a problem with the fact that you're saying you are representing the people of Indiana, but you want to restrict which people you're talking about. I'm sorry, Republicans. See, that's why people, when they ask me, well, I want to vote for the candidate and not the party. But it seems like every time Republicans talk about things, they are on the wrong side of what it is to be taking care of the people that they represent. They on the wrong side. They on the wrong side of the environment. And now they're on the wrong side of the debate on whether or not you as a party should recognize families, that whether or not you agree with them or not. What kind of God complex, Brian Bosman, do you have? Who are you? You do realize if you get cut, you will bleed red like I will. or anyone else for that matter. Get off your God complex, thinking that you know what's best for people. Stop it. And here you are spending all this time when you should be talking about on your platform, and what you should be debating is, wait a minute, that SB 309 is harmful to my constituents. Anytime we pass legislation that benefits big coal and weakens environmental protections, that's harmful to my constituents. Nope. I would much rather talk about whose marriage is legitimate and whose isn't. Thank you, Republicans. Whatever. One last thing I want to get to, and if you notice, I don't really wade into the gun debate very much because there's enough people fighting that one. That one's not really my strong suit. But I wanted to talk about how Republicans came out this week stating that they wanted to address the existing laws pertaining to young people and how they are charged when they commit crimes in school. So right now, the Noblesville gentleman, his identity is still being withheld because he was 13 years old, went into the school. We already know what happened in Noblesville. Fortunately, in Indiana, there were no deaths. We were very, very fortunate. Unlike many of the other states, we had no deaths in this incident. And the lawmakers want to change the rules. They want to look at the law and say, well, because there were no deaths, they can't charge him as an adult. They have to charge him as a juvenile. Well, Republicans want to look at that and say, well, wait a second. We want to see if we can come up with some more stringent rules. 2 points on that. One, shouldn't you look at the laws that you have in place that impact the person before they get the gun in their hands? I mean, it would seem to me it makes more sense to prevent the kid from getting the gun than what to do after they've actually shot the gun. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, once you change those rules, you know what is going to happen. Little 13-year-old black kids who get their little guns will be the first one, or little brown kids will be the first ones locked up. Because, in Noblesville or in Fishers or in anywhere in Hamilton County, Hancock, Johnson County, we don't want to ruin the young person's life. So we're going to be lenient. But we already know when it comes to brown and black children, they're already viewed as violent adults anyway. Hence, Tamir Rice was shot in 3 seconds. So I'm worried about what you're looking at and why you're looking at it and what changes you're going to make. We need to keep our eye on this one, right? Nothing's happened yet. They're just talking about it. But the fact that they're talking about looking at charging 13-year-olds as adults, we already know black people are already disproportionately incarcerated based on our population. Do you think you're going to be locking up 13-year-old little white kids? No, it's going to be 13-year-old brown and black kids. So I'm just saying, keep your eye out on that. Watch that coming down the pike. And it's, again, anytime Brian Bosma speaks on something, I'm gonna tell you now, it's probably something in the game. I wouldn't too much mess with anything that Brian Bosma has to say. Punim Gill, she's gonna win 88. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Punim Gill, she's gonna win 88. All right, hey, I want to introduce you guys to one of our 3 statewide candidates that will be on the ballot in 2018. Everyone in all 92 counties will be able to vote for this man sitting next to me. None of most of the guests I've had on have been from a district or a certain space, or this individual, Jim Harper, is running for the Secretary of State of Indiana. So we'll have 4 people on the ballot essentially on a statewide race: Senator Donnelly, the Secretary of State, the Treasurer, and the Auditor. This is one of those positions. So everyone out there in 92 counties, it's time for us to get to know who these candidates are. Y'all, give it up to my guest. And y'all think I'm a traveling man? Everywhere I go, he's there. I'm like, this guy's campaigning all over the state. Jim Harper, welcome to Turn Left, sir.
It is good to be with you, Dana. Thank you.
All right. Hey, you know what? A lot of people don't understand how the dynamics go. So you and I today are going to talk about who you are, the seat that you're running for, and how this process works, so that they understand how they can support you no matter where they are, from border to border, from lake to river, how they can support you. But first, Tell the people who you are, where you come from, my man.
Let me first say, I didn't know. I thought I should have brought some rants. I didn't know that's what we were doing because I got lots I could talk about.
Well, we as black women, we don't get to rant too much. Ain't nobody really. Me and Auntie Maxine.
Hey, I can't. I love listening to you. I'd love to hear what Auntie Maxine has to say. But yeah, I'm from. I'm an attorney, Dana.
Okay.
I'm from Northwest Indiana, from the region, as we
Okay,
like
the
to call
region
it.
up north.
From Valparaiso. I was born and raised up there. And kind of came from a political family. My mom's actually the longest serving female judge in the history of the state of Indiana.
Wow, go women rock all over the state.
Also Republican, I'll throw that out there too. But
not everybody's perfect.
she's pretty good. And then
She's pretty good, yes.
my dad actually was a county commissioner. He was a Democrat, so
Okay.
I had to come from both sides there.
Oh, okay.
And I've been involved in politics my whole life. I in college went down to IU, went to law school out in DC at Georgetown University.
Okay.
Worked in the federal court system for a little while. I was a public defender in New Orleans, Louisiana for about 4 years, and has given me, in addition to the issues we're going to talk about today, a passion about criminal justice issues, so I'm really glad to see you talking about them, and I think it's a critical issue for our state going forward. I'm glad it's an issue that's getting a lot of attention right now. I think that, we've neglected criminal justice issues in this country for far too long, and now I think people are starting to be a lot more progressive in their thinking there. And now I work at my family's law firm, so it's me, my dad, and my two brothers. There's a whole lot of Harpers working together. But really spending a lot of time in my car running for Secretary of State. So.
Absolutely, because I know it. I turned over 100,000 miles yesterday on my way to Michigan City. I was like, whoo, we did it. We made it.
Yeah, I saw your post on that. The thing for me, obviously, I'm like, oh, am I going to win or not? I got a lot of work to do and all that. I'm really wondering if my car's going to make it.
Oh, it's
That's
going to
the
make it.
biggest
Change
question.
the oil, rotate the tires, you'll be in good shape.
I'm
Engines are designed to, I got a truck, so trucks are, they, dogs like trucks.
Yeah.
So what was it? I mean, I know being a lawyer, and then luckily your parents were already in the political space. Sometimes kids run the opposite direction of what their parents are do. Mm-hmm. Are your siblings involved in all the politics?
They are. Well, yeah. So I have 4 siblings, and 2 of them work in the same law firm, right? So right. So my oldest brother and one of the middle brothers are both lawyers as well. And actually, my one of those brothers who is a lawyer is also running for township trustee in Border County.
Wow, a Democrat?
Of course.
Okay, we're not giving plugs to Republicans out here. Whether it is family.
I was about to drop his website, but you were going to check me there, right? So.
Yeah. Hey, no Republican plugs on turn left.
No, he's trust me, he's a Democrat.
Excellent. That's good to know. So now you're out here running. And I know as a candidate, when I first started running for office, there were specific issues that I gravitated toward. Yeah. But as I started talking to my constituents, I started to open up to what their concerns were. Tell me about where you were when you first started the race and how you've evolved over the time that you've been campaigning.
Well, for me coming in, the Secretary of State's the chief elections officer. Mm-hmm. I think that's critically important. Voting and elections are an issue that I am passionate about, that I always have been passionate about.
Baby, because they're trying to take the vote away.
They are, and it goes back, you talked about some issues before, earlier on, the beginning of the program, where our state's not going in the right direction right now, right? Like, the vast majority, to take the marriage issue for instance, mm-hmm. the vast majority of Hoosiers, pretty good chance of winning because they've made it harder for some folks to vote. They've drawn the districts very creatively just to favor one party, and that means the government's not accountable to the people.
Sure.
So we need to fix that. And coming in, that was my focus, and it still is my focus, frankly. But.
Okay, and I like that because Connie Lawson. I'm not gonna say that she's not a bright woman, because I would never disparage another woman just for the sake of disparaging women. However, she was asked at one point if she felt like early voting and access to early voting sites played a role in voter turnout. And Jim, she said no. Now, again, I'm not going to disparage the woman. Maybe she didn't have the facts in front of her. Maybe the information she was given was antiquated or upside down. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that they gave her the paper upside down and she really couldn't read, or it was in Klingon. It was written in Klingon. Could you please address for us, a Secretary of State or the assumption that early voting sites and access to voting poll sites doesn't have an effect, doesn't have an effect on voter turnout.
In 2014, Indiana had the lowest voter turnout in the country. We weren't just 50 out of 50, we were 51 out of 51 if you throw DC in.
Wow.
In 2016, we weren't much better, right? It is incumbent upon the Secretary of State, the Chief Elections Officer, to do everything that he or she can to improve voter turnout, especially, in all circumstances, but especially when we're that low. Because the reason that we're that low isn't because Hoosiers don't care, isn't because Hoosiers aren't civically engaged. We are, and Republicans and Democrats alike are. It is because our state government has done things to discourage some people from voting, to make it harder for some people voting, and not taking steps that could make it easier.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So I think it's critical for us to have a secretary who's focused on making it easier, not harder for people to vote. Right? We haven't been doing that the last however many years.
No.
And the early voting example that you raise is a great example of that. Right? We had a situation until this fall, thankfully, only because the federal court stepped in, where
Republicans always on the wrong side of things. I'm just saying.
Right, where even though if you go to the counties around here, and it's great, they have several early voting sites, and that's great because I think people in Republican counties should be able to vote. I think people in Democratic counties should be able to vote.
Absolutely.
My county, Porter County, is about 20% of the population of Indianapolis, and we have, I believe, this year we will have 6 or 7 early voting sites. But one party has set up the rules so that they can veto early voting sites in the most Democratic county in the state, right? And to have this, I think in a situation like that, Republican or Democrat, it's incumbent upon the Secretary of State, the Chief Elections Officer, to speak out about that.
Equal access, baby. And I've read comments, well, when voting is, why can't you vote early? You know what to do, Well, first of all, in Indianapolis, we already know that there was only one voting site, which is now being changed to 3, which is still woefully behind someone who has 20% of the population that we have, with only 3 sites. But we had to go downtown, which had to pay to park. There's no free parking downtown, and it was one place. And if you didn't hit it between 8 and 4:30, you weren't going to get in. Well, most people are working. So we saw in Marion County how insane this was, and we saw that the rules were changed at the State House to make it almost impossible unless that one Republican changed their mind. But here we have a prime example of Republicans not wanting you to show up and show out, because when we come to fight, we win.
There is no doubt that the reason that early voting was limited in Marion County was to help one party. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, that's what
happens when you have a simple majority.
Argument, and the federal court,
Yes.
found that. So for me, if I want to, where I live, I can walk 5 minutes and early vote, and there's plenty of free parking. If I didn't live in that area, there's plenty of free parking right around there. We actually put a video up on our Facebook page. I'll make a little plug for it. Jim Harper for Secretary of State.
Absolutely.
We went through the early voting process with someone in Marion County. We took the bus because of how much it costs to park downtown. And instead of being a 5-minute process, it's an hour and a half process if we're lucky and there's no lines. Right?
Wow.
So that just tells you that there is something wrong. I'm glad that I know that our leaders in Marion County have been fighting to change that, but they've been blocked. They've been vetoed, unfortunately. I think there's some progress happening there, and I'm excited about it.
Okay. So elections and voting and the election process is one of the roles of the Secretary of State, and that's an important one. And I don't want to, from a political standpoint, I do not want to minimize that. But talk to me about some of the other roles that the Secretary of State has.
Yeah, I mean, Secretary of State doesn't. People don't know. The Secretary of State actually does an awful lot. So constitutionally, the Secretary of State keeps the state seal. That's not one of the more exciting parts, but one of my favorite. I'll just tell you.
You gonna keep it in your pocket?
No.
I'm just saying. We're gonna keep it out of your car.
One of my favorite stories, though, just a real quick aside. There in another state, which also the Secretary of State has to keep the state seal. The Secretary of State, they found out, wasn't actually sealing laws with the seal. And it was like a you had one job situation, right? Now, I think we're doing that here. But the Secretary of State also has a business services division, which is really important. And so, if you are somebody who's starting a small business or any business, you have to register with the Secretary of State, your LLC, your corporation, LLP, whatever it might be. And then the Secretary whatever it is, right? And then you can go to the Secretary of State's office to register and to find out about other businesses, right? And so what I'd like to see us do, and that's they've got a good website and some good resources there. What I'd like to see us do is be a lot more proactive, right?
Okay.
Because there are a lot of places, there are a lot of people in this state and around the state who are interested in potentially starting a small business but don't know where to start. right?
Okay.
Maybe they don't know where to start because they've never done it before. Maybe they're new to the country, the first generation, and they haven't really navigated our regulatory system
Absolutely.
before.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe they're in a community where not a lot of people have small businesses, so there aren't resources where they can go and ask other people. So I'd like to see us go out there, reach out to people, really be proactive, have events around the state, partner with local chambers of commerce, get innovative, do it in more than just English too when we're at it. To reach out to people.
You just messed up. Jim Harper, you mean you don't want us? No, you mean tell me you don't want everybody to speak American?
No, listen, I mean, yeah.
I was like, yeah, what? I was a comedian in another life.
I think you're pretty funny in this one too, so.
I'm kidding. I think that's a fantastic idea because, I mean, there are lots of, there's nothing that says you have to speak English, and I think that we should continue to offer services in multiple languages, absolutely.
I mean, one of the things that I've, enjoyed going around the last 5 months around Indiana to several counties around the state, and there's a lot more to come, is to learn a lot more about the diversity of our state. Right?
Absolutely.
I think that people often think that Indiana is not a diverse state, and that's not true, right? I mean, there are people from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds.
I'm walking diversity.
You're amazing. But there are people from all different backgrounds in the state, and you and I think we're chatting before. What unites us, it has a lot more in common than what divides us.
Mm-hmm.
But we also do bring different perspectives that really add a lot of value, and so it's been great for me, just kind of fun to learn about that and to experience.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about watching you. One day, I think we met over the email messaging first. I think it was,
yeah.
And you were just getting out there,
right.
And I said, hit this event. And next thing you know, there's Jim Harper at this event or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And I have just been incredibly impressed with his knowledge of what the role is. Most people take on, they run for office, and I always encourage people to run for office. I will never discourage anyone from running for office. But please, 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 take the time to learn about the office that you're running for. And his knowledge base, I was thoroughly impressed with about what the Secretary of State does. Luckily, I've been a business owner, so I kind of had like little things that I knew I was going to say, what he know? What he know? But he's been, and when you meet him on whatever stop he is on, he's going to give you quality information. So give us more about the Secretary of State's office that we may not know about.
Yeah, so I mean, there's two other divisions in the Secretary of State's office. There is a auto dealer services division, and there's a degree of regulation involved.
Are you going to let Tesla sell?
That is a decision that's going to be up to the legislature. But I will say this: I think that if you want to buy a Tesla, why shouldn't we be able to buy a Tesla? Right?
Well, the people here in Indiana no Teslas.
Yeah.
What is with these folks? I thought competition was what we wanted from Republicans. Competition. Yeah. We're capitalism. Competition. I mean, they don't mind starving public schools for some competition.
Right.
Starve a dealership for some competition. I'm just saying, what's good for the kids got to be good for a car. Just my thoughts. Not Jim's, just mine.
I did, through this campaign, I got to ride in a Tesla for the first time during this campaign. It was pretty cool. So.
They are amazing cars. Yeah. My wife has been looking at one, and if we could just figure out how to get the wheelchair ramp in there,
yeah.
You never know. But it is an amazing vehicle.
I think they have SUVs now, don't they?
They do. They have large ones. It's still, the problem is once you alter it, you lose your warranty. And so there's, you're not going to spend that much money on something, and and my wife is differently able, so we have to make sure. But she wants one, and she wants one bad, and I'm like, y'all just don't know. She gonna mess around, call Tesla, and be like, "Do you know who I am?
Right.
I'm Maya Black. Can I please?" She's like that. So anyway. That's me being silly again. So tell us about some of the things that you see in the auto dealership space that you want to change.
I mean, I don't know that there's too much that I would go out saying that I want to change. I think we need to make sure that I think it's probably we should be working with the legislature to try and get a little more staffing there. My understanding is that they're stretched pretty thin in the auto dealer services division.
Okay.
And so we need to make sure that we have enough people to go around to make sure the dealerships are compliant with all the rules that we have.
Absolutely.
As a state. And I think that's kind of hard for them right now because of some staffing issues. So that would be one of the things I'd focus on.
Okay.
We also have the securities division.
Okay. Talk about
in the Secretary of
so
State's
that's
office.
that's like the investment
Yeah.
portion. All right.
So any security that's stolen that is sold or issued in the state of Indiana is subject to regulation by the state, by the Secretary of State. And there are unfortunately some people out there who choose to prey on people or choose to try and take advantage of people, especially
some of them are elected officials.
trying to take advantage of elderly people. We have a lot of those. We have Ponzi schemes, and sometimes you'll see them in the news. And so I just think we need to make sure that we're remaining vigilant there.
Gosh, I'm listening to you say that, and all I keep thinking about is that loan shark bill that Brian Bosman was trying to put on. I mean, I know that's not a securities thing, but that's exactly what you're talking about.
But here's the other thing I would say that I think is an important piece of this, Dana, is that I want to be someone in the Secretary of State. It's the third highest office in state government. I'd like to be somebody who helps serve as a watchdog on state government, right? Because these guys, frankly, I think are so out of touch with the issues that are affecting most Hoosiers, And we have some amazing, passionate, very effective legislators who are calling them out every day. I think it would be helpful to have somebody, in a statewide office with that position to call them out too. And the payday loan bill was a great example of that.
Okay.
I forget what the percentage was, 200 and some percent. I will tell you, I've met a lot of Hoosiers on the campaign trail. I'm sure you've met a lot of Hoosiers, just over the, going around the state. Nobody came up to me and said, hey, payday lenders can't charge us high enough interest rate.
Right.
Like, I didn't hear it. Maybe I'm talking the wrong crew or something.
Right.
I didn't hear it. I think it would be helpful to have somebody at the statewide, level in state government who can call them out when they are doing things that are really done just to appeal to special interests.
Absolutely, special interests that weren't even based in Indiana.
Yeah.
One company was based in Ohio, and two of the companies were based in Mexico. I thought y'all wanted walls. Y'all want to build a wall. No, they wanted to keep native Mexicans out, but they want to send our money over to Mexico. Yay! Brilliant Republicans. That was another Brian Bosman thing. I keep trying to tell y'all, anytime Brian Bosman speaks on something, y'all need to watch it back. Because I'm telling you, he coming for you.
How do you feel about Brian Bosman? I'm not clear.
So I'm sure he's a great guy, and I'm sure he's a great family man, but he is on the wrong side of history. His policies are all jacked up, and as someone who lives in his district, he doesn't give a dang about me as one of his constituents, and I pay lots of taxes.
Well, one of the things that's exciting to me is how many good legislative candidates we as Democrats have across the state of Indiana, right? We are running a record. We just had a record number of people show up and put their name on the ballot, which, more power to you because
more women, yay, more
20% of the Indiana legislature is female. 20% of the Indiana legislature is female, and we wonder why they pass so many policies that are not good for women.
Absolutely, and listen, I want to just throw this out there. I know people are like, well, it's just not a numbers game and blah, blah, blah. But we have, Jim Harper, who is running for Secretary of State. We have John Aguilera. I want to say that again. Aguilera. We have a Latino running for treasurer. And we have an African-American woman, Jocelyn Whitaker, who just announced, who is, now mind you, all of these people are qualified. But you cannot get a more diverse statewide ticket than that, right? Listen, the Republicans tout all the time about Curtis Hill and how many votes he got, and him being an African-American Secretary of State. Attorney General. He sucks, but he's a black guy. He really sucks, and it's okay. That's when you got real equality, when you can be black and suck. Because remember, there was a time, Chris Rock was the first one that said that, right? We have true equality when black people can mess up and still get another chance, right? He sucks. They're sitting around, he's lock, stock, and barrel with policies that go against his family. That's what cracks me up. But anyway, yes, we've got to have
his policies go against everybody in the state of Indiana.
Oh my God, yes. But hey, he's a black guy and he's a Republican and they voted for him. Yay! Dude, don't give me that. That drives me nuts when people tell us as black people we're supposed to support a black person just because they black. But then they get mad and they say, well, we only voted for Barack Obama because he was black. Mm-hmm. I'm going to need y'all to stop confusing me. Tell me how to think. I'm sorry, tell me again. So as you're out here running around, what have people told you that they want to see you do?
I think people are really concerned about the election issues.
Okay.
You know, and I think the biggest issue there is the gerrymandering issue. You know,
Right.
I mean, I think that people in this in Indiana get the fundamental unfairness with politicians choosing their voters, not the other way around, right? And boy, oh boy, do we do it with gusto in Indiana.
Would
have the
your
Republicans
role
there.
be able to have a say in the gerrymandering discussion?
We will absolutely have a say.
Okay,
You know, I mean,
okay.
the legislature is the group that votes on the lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it is time for the Secretary of State to take up and play a part in that, and we can do it a couple ways. One, to be a statewide leader on the issue, right? We got a lot of grassroots energy. We got a lot of legislators who are doing really good work on it. To have somebody in statewide office who is committed to kind of being a quarterback for the effort, to going to members' districts if they're not casting votes the right way, and making sure that their constituents know the way they're voting on this absolutely critical issue, and it's an issue of fairness that Republicans and Democrats agree on.
Absolutely.
If and when the issue ends up in court, it's likely the Secretary of State will have a say there as the chief elections officer.
Okay,
You know, and
okay.
we've seen litigation around the country, in Maryland and Wisconsin and some other states, right? Pennsylvania. So
Somebody got in the street.
yeah, somebody's going
acting
on
up, man.
out
They
there.
acting up out
Please.
there.
All right.
Okay.
Come out to 10th Street, guys.
The party's going down.
Yeah.
IMPD.
So, so in any event, there is absolutely something we can do there. And you know what? I think that I don't think there is a more fundamental threat to our democracy right now than extreme partisan gerrymandering. It is incumbent upon everybody, but particularly the chief elections officer,
Absolutely.
to do something about that. So that's something people have been really passionate about.
Are you aware, if anything, our current Secretary of State has said about gerrymandering, where she stands with it? Or
I'm not aware of her having said anything about it.
I'm sure she hasn't, because every time she says something and you go, what? That's just me. I go, no, Connie.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some other stuff. Indiana last year, Indiana kicked 500,000 voters off the voter rolls in one fell swoop, right? And we did it, largely based on an unreliable system that was propagated by a gentleman from Kansas who is not particularly interested in making it easier for folks to vote.
Right.
So that's a real concern to me. 10% of our voters, one fell swoop. And I just think also people just, they're frustrated with what's going on in D.C. They're frustrated with the dysfunction. They're frustrated with the corruption, frankly. But we see some of that in Indianapolis too, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Right? And we certainly see dysfunction in Indianapolis. They couldn't get their act together and get their business done in the time that they had to do it. And that has an effect on Hoosiers' lives.
Yeah.
Them not fixing the mess at DCS has an effect on people's lives. Them not taking any steps to prevent gun violence in our schools has an effect on people's lives here in the state of Indiana. So I think that people are ready. I'm hopeful that people are ready for some change there.
I'm loving the passion, bruh.
How can you not be? How can you not?
Exactly, with everything that's going on.
You talked about,
Oh my
right?
God, with everything that's going on right now, I even heard someone say today where I was on the phone talking to someone who is interested in being more involved in politics. Talked about how people he knew were disengaging and didn't want to vote, and I said, your job as a leader is to constantly tell them why it's important for them to vote and for them to not disengage. There are no excuses for you not to be involved in the people's government. There's no excuse. None whatsoever. And if we need to teach you and educate you on how the process works, that's what we will do. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem going and talking to anybody, anywhere, anytime about civic engagement and what it means to be. So, even in Marion County, right? There were a lot of folks who were upset because after 2016, they became civically engaged. They had been voters. They had been voting for decades, right? But they finally became engaged in the process. And they learned about something that had been in place for 20, 30 years. And they went, oh my God, what is this? This is the most horrible thing ever. I can't believe this. This is the party against the people. No. You have to learn about the process of whether they're right or wrong. I'm not agreeing with or not with the process, but at least I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And if I want to fight it, I can fight it. If you want to make changes, we can propose changes. We can do all of that. But you got to know what the process is. You have to be engaged. Facebook ranting is not going to change policy. I am a Facebook ranter. I rant a lot of places. I rant on radio shows and podcasts. But until I'm in a position where I can influence policy, nothing's going to change. Or influence people who influence policy. But either way, you got to get engaged.
I think we all have a role that we can play, right?
Right.
Like we're all. I'm certainly frustrated with the direction things are going in our country and our state, and we all have a role to play. But I think that not everybody is the big donor, right?
Right.
Not everybody loves Oh, by the way, I gotta talk now. Not everybody, knocking on doors might not be right.
Now that's what I. Hey,
right? But it is right for some people. Running for office might not be right for. But there's all a role. We all have a role to play.
Absolutely.
More than just being on Facebook. Hopefully, although that's a fun part.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong.
Somebody got to talk.
But and then as candidates, I think we have a particularly important role in getting people engaged and excited to vote, right? Because. There's some people in Washington D.C. who are getting people pretty excited to vote, right? But it is incumbent upon us to give people a reason to vote for us,
right? Right,
and to show up and get out there and do the work so that people are excited, because
absolutely,
we cannot take it for granted that there's some big blue wave that's going to show up this year, right?
Waves
it ain't going to happen on its own.
Nope.
Somebody's got to make that thing before anybody's going to even think about riding it.
Absolutely.
Right? So.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of people want me to talk about the Russian investigation. They want me to talk about Stormy Daniels. I get inboxes because that noise at the top means nothing to what's going on right here in Indiana.
I'm glad that you're, one of the things that, and when you, at the top, when you were talking about some of the issues that you're concerned with right now, those are issues that affect Hoosiers' lives day in and day out.
Day in and day out.
Right?
Stormy Daniels ain't going to do nothing for me.
Affects your life day in and day out. The leading party in the state, frankly, the party that is in control of the state, is still fighting against your right to live with to marry your wife. Affects people's lives, affects the reputation of our state, affects our economy. Right?
Absolutely.
We're talking about trying to get Amazon to come into the state, and the people that run the state, frankly, right? We're going to change that, I think, but the people that run this state are still fighting about whether you can marry.
Or transportation, public transport in a city that has close to 900,000 people, and then all the donut counties are over 1.5 million. Here we are still talking about mass transit. Are you serious? Yeah. But you mad about the chuck hole? You do realize we can reduce chuck holes if we reduce. No, Mike Duff is not that smart, is he? JD Ford.
The whole thing.
JD Ford is running against Mike Duff.
I'm excited about JD.
I'm very excited about JD.
I think JD's going to be our next state senator. I think we're going to have a lot of, I think there's a lot of good, and there's a lot of good young people running too.
Oh my God!
You got Poonam, you got Derek Camp, you got Greg Ratha down on the south side.
Chris Chung out of Lake County is killing it. I don't know if you get if you have not watched that interview, he was amazing.
Chris Chung is
good young guy. But our Republicans who are, like you said, are running our state are running it backwards. Yep. I mean, eventually I'm gonna have to wear a poodle skirt, and I'm not going to be happy about it. I do not like poodle skirts. As far as back as I'm going is a monogram sweater. That's it.
At first, you're going to think it's some retro trend, but then you're like, oh no, it's just some policies.
So they say they want these businesses, but like you said, they're not doing anything to really attract them. They're not doing anything to improve the quality of life.
Here's the thing: is that when we got to think about how we can attract people back to this state. How can we get people who aren't from this state to move to the state? How can we get, frankly, people like me? I moved away for several years and then came back after a while. How can we draw more people back in? And
you can't
quality
poison
of life
them.
is part of it, right?
You can't poison them.
No,
that's for dang sure.
No, you can't. And it's not just low taxes. That's not the only thing. We should keep our taxes as low as we can, but that's not the only thing that draws people in.
And what people don't realize, they talk about these jobs that are coming in and the low taxes. The people that own these businesses, they're not living here. You don't even, we haven't even, so even if Amazon or some other Infosys came here, do you think the leaders of Infosys actually live in Indiana? They do not. Not the real leaders. I don't even think they live in the U.S. yet. But I'm just saying, and I'm happy that we have those jobs, but they're not breathing toxic air. They're not having to worry about if their family member is going to be discriminated against when they go put accommodations.
But those companies want to recruit people here, right?
They do.
Want to recruit people
and they
here,
know
so that's why all those things are important.
And they know competition is tough, and so they're like, wait a second, you got to fix this stuff. That's why Salesforce is like one of our biggest leaders in the state of diversity and equality. And in fact, they renamed the tower, and I wanted to say they named it Equality Tower or something like that, because when they came in, they were like, this is dumb. You guys got to stop this. But Republicans are stuck in their ways. I have a hard time with this, why don't you think like me? I was having this conversation with John Bartlett the other day, just a casual conversation. He's an interesting wealth of knowledge. And we were talking about the idea that we have people who really believe that if you need to think like me. That's like going up to Hamilton County. I know you've been in Hamilton County, and the Burger King looks like the Taco Bell, and the Taco Bell looks like the Wendy's, and the Wendy's looks like the McDonald's. Why do we all have to look alike? Wendy's and McDonald's are different restaurants, and Taco Bell sure ain't a Burger King. So why do they all have to be in the same brick building with the same look, the same Stepford feeling? I don't understand why we have to be like that to be looked after in our state. If you don't think like I think, then I'm not going to write legislation that protects you. And that's what's happening. And poor white folk, I want you to understand that means you too. I'm sorry, it's not just a race thing. It is not just a gender thing. It is not just a sexuality thing. It is also a socioeconomic thing. That is why, Muncie school systems were taken over. Because it had nothing to do with demographic. It's 60% white. There's no money there. And so now that it's going to keep on extracting all the little money that was there out. So stop thinking that it is, racial. It's really, these folks are trying to hold on to it. And if you're not in lockstep with their philosophy, you will be left behind. And I'm loving that you're running. Because you're right, we do need a check and balance as much as we can from, the Mike Delphs of the world. Need
a big check for the Mike Delphs.
Oh my God. I mean, and they espouse this stuff like, don't you know everybody thinks this way? It's like, no, dog.
In fact, most people in the state don't. But and I'm going to come back to the election issues, which are what I'm so passionate on this race. But they have changed the rules to make it easier for them to win, so they don't have to be responsive to most people. They don't have to be accountable.
They don't have to be answered. And listen, there are some Democrats who are sitting in seats right now where I want to shake them. I am about get her done. And there are, having people in the seats that are not challenged is not good for Democrats, and it's not good for Republicans. It's not good because you become complacent. And when you are one of only 30 Democrats in the House and you're not doing everything you possibly can, then it's not 70-30, it's 70-29.
I mean, the one thing I would say is even most of the Democrats I've talked to in pretty safe districts still want more fair redistricting.
I'm just saying I don't want it to make it seem like I'm just Democrats and the gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is bad all the way around because there are still some complacency. There's some folks out there. Me personally, I can't. And I would never drop it. I'll just drop dimes on Republicans because it's much more fun that way. Because the show's called Turn Left. and it's really about moving our state forward, and I need every Democrat to roll up their sleeves and make it happen since we are outnumbered right now.
Right.
I feel like the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. Did I say that? Dang.
That's harsh.
Man, you already know. We're not going. That was. I feel bad for the.
I'm a Bulls fan, so it's I just like to get to the playoffs. I mean, I would take that.
Hey, I'm a Pacers fan. I love everything Indiana, and people always look at me like I'm crazy. I'm a Colts fan. I'm a Pacers fan, and they go, "Really, you're a homer?" Yes.
Yeah. Well, you should be.
I should be. Yes. I don't understand why you're rooting for Boston.
No.
Why would you? Anyway, but that's what we are. So tell me something else about you that the people need to know, and then let's make sure that we tell people where they can find you, what fundraisers you have coming on, what things you're working on. We got 15 minutes. So I want to make sure people know how to get to you.
Man, something else about me that people don't know. I'm not sure about that. I'll say after I went to law school, right, I'm a lawyer. My first kind of real significant job as a lawyer was as a public defender in New Orleans, Louisiana. I moved down there for 4 years to work there, and so in addition to the issues that you and I have been talking about, criminal justice, and I touched on it before, but criminal justice reform is an issue that I'm particularly passionate about. It doesn't overlap quite as much with the Secretary of State's office, but I love talking about those issues. I'm excited to see that we've had some reforms in our state, but boy, do we have a much longer way to go. So I think there's an awful lot, that we can do there. How can you find me? Well, harperforindiana.com. We have a website there. You can also sign up to be on our mailing list there. You can sign up if you want to contribute. We are not allergic to money in the Harper for Indiana campaign.
I love that. We're not allergic to money. Okay.
And Jim Harper for Secretary of State on Facebook, and then, Jim Harper IN on Twitter, and Harper for Indiana, I think, on Insta. But
okay. So. Now, I do know that you are walking in the parade.
I am. I'm
for
stoked.
The Pride Parade. So tell me, is this your first?
I've been to the Pride Parade before. I've never walked in it before. I hear it is a fun day.
It is. It's an amazing day.
Are you? What are your plans for the parade?
I'm actually going to walk for Zach Adamson.
Okay. Right
and there were several to choose from.
Everybody's walking.
I know.
Everybody's anybody.
Yes. We're all in it because that's what I'm loving is that there was a time where certain candidates who were running in certain races would not. Yeah. They would distance themselves from the LGBT discussion.
Where is Brian Bosma's entry in the parade? Which part of it?
He'll be back up in District 88, probably on Dice Reservoir, fishing, or whatever he does up there.
It is kind of rich, though, that on the day of the Pride Parade, I think is when the votes going to be happening down there.
That's right! The Republican convention, of course. Yeah. Of course. Yes! So I can't be in Evansville to talk about Republicans. But yeah, I'm excited that you're walking in the parade, and I'm glad that you're walking alone. I mean, not alone, but as you're
hopefully.
He's not walking alone. He's got a Facebook event page, but I'm glad that you're having your contingency.
Yeah.
I know the first time I did it as a candidate, it was incredible because. The look on the faces of the LGBT community, knowing that there are elected officials who are really, or candidates who are really looking out for our community when so many are working diligently against us, and that is probably, I think, the most telling about candidates walking in the parade.
Well, we'll be out there. We'll be at Pride Fest after that.
Okay,
that's what it's called, right? Pride Fest.
I think so.
Whatever the fest is afterwards, we'll be out there.
Mm-hmm.
So look for us. If anybody's
make sure you
stop
by the Stonewall booth.
Yeah.
Do you have your own booth?
We don't have our own booth. We just have our own entry. But,
okay.
Then
good. Yes, you're gonna hang. So he is going to be hanging out in the Stonewall booth. So if you want to come and shake his hand, and the great thing is about this candidate is that he's a statewide candidate. So everybody in 2018 will have him on your ballot. So listen, I don't know what times you're coming, so I'm going to leave that up to him. I'm not going to pin you down on that. But I know that he's good. So if you want to meet him and talk to him, he will be there for you guys to chit-chat with him and get to know why he's running. Do you have any fundraisers coming up?
So Wednesday, the 13th, next Wednesday, the 13th, Punch Bowl Social, 5 to 6:30, downtown. If you beat me at bowling, the fundraiser is... I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to make that commitment. But let's come have a good time. So we'll be down there.
Okay.
If you beat me at bowling, buy a beer. How about that one?
There you go.
And that's the next one we got on the docket. So
I love it. I love that you're being active. I just had a thought and it just left me. That old lady thing just kicks in all the time. I got excited because you said beer, and I was like, oh,
exactly. The show's almost... We only got 5 more minutes, and then
I know. And I hate that Man, I had a good one too to close it out. I really did. We gave your contact information.
Yeah.
We talked about your next events. The
other thing we got coming up is the Democrat State Party Convention.
That's what I was going to.
On June the 16th.
Thank you.
A little something called Big Dem Weekend.
Yes.
And, even if people are not delegates to the State Democratic Convention, we'll be live streaming it and all that stuff, so you can look us up there. But two, you can get actually guest tickets because Eric Holder is going to be the speaker.
That's exactly what I was going to announce. Thank you for doing my job. Not only will he be a great Secretary of State, but he will also be a great host for Turn Left when the old lady forgets her, brain.
You gotta take vacation, right? Indiana Jones got to go to Hawaii every once in a while.
Every month, because I left. I was all gone. But yes, if you have not signed up to get your free ticket for Eric Holder, you are missing out. Eric Holder is coming to Indiana for free. Indims.org, find out about it. And there's some other people that are going to be giving a few little speeches.
A couple of people got some speeches.
Some people got some speeches.
I don't want to spoil things.
Some people got some speeches. Not sure who it is, but the Big Dim Weekend is fantastic. I don't know if you can still get your Hoosier Hospitality tickets or not.
Sure.
But that's Friday night, and that's really a good fundraiser for our Dem party. But it's really a great place to network. We have
Young Democrats are having an after party after that.
The young. Always for the young Dems want you to hang out all night long.
That's right.
All night, like that Lionel Richie.
Some blue drink that I don't know what's in it. So I'm a candidate, so I'm passing this year. But
I'm not a candidate.
Yes,
but I stick to my brand because I've hung out with the young Dems off the record, and I realized why I'm not a young Dem anymore. And literally, I had to leave him and say, "It's late. I gotta go home." We're like,
okay. To be fair, just so everybody knows, that was at 10:30, but
That was late. Hey, I had to go home. I was fading fast. I was like, but I love hanging out with the young Dems because their energy level is so high.
And they just announced today that they are applying for the National Young Dems Convention.
We kind of knew about that in Stonewall. We wrote an endorsement for them.
That's great.
We really want them to have that convention. This is another way to highlight the diversity of Indiana. I actually went up to Wabash. We were both in Wabash together for the College Dems Convention, which was fantastic, which is an association with Young Dems, and the High School Dems, which again another subset of Young Dems. They've opened up like 12 new high school chapters. So if you're interested in opening up a high school chapter of Young Dems in your school, you need to reach out to me. And I'll get you connected with the right people because we want to get our young folks engaged as soon as possible. But really, come out on Saturday and meet Jim Harper. I'm telling you, he's a cool guy. I even got to be in like one of his little spots. Did I get edited out? I didn't even see it yet.
Actually, we will find out at the State Party Convention. I haven't seen it either. That'll be the world premiere, so we'll see. And
I was like, dang, did I miss the other videos?
No, that one hasn't come out yet.
Okay, phew. I was like, my star debut being in a Jim Harper commercial. I wanted to make sure I caught that so I can show my wife, I'm in a Jim Harper commercial.
Oh, no, trust me, that's the Dana Black bounce.
No.
Over the top, so,
I love that was fun because we were just kind of hanging out that day, and that's the great thing about getting to know the candidates. One of my desires for this show is to make this show a place where people feel like the candidates are accessible, right, and that they're real and natural people, and that they're not just these God figures. And one way to do that is just let you tell your story. Yes, you're flawed, you're human, but you have a desire to make a difference in the world. And people just need to see that. And then there's somebody right now, there's another young Jimmy that is sitting around going, I can do that too. And that's what it's all about, is just inspiring people and letting you know it's everyday, regular people, not superheroes running for office. Everyday people who make,
And the one thing I would add to that is, like, when I first I'd run for office once before I ran for state senate in 2016.
So this isn't your first race?
No, second race. But, like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? There's no manual about how to be a statewide candidate, right? And I've made some mistakes. I'm sure I will make more mistakes. But, just if you're at all interested in it, just kind of try it.
Just do it, man.
Just doing it.
Like I told the kids last night. Make it, right? They weren't kids. Right. Like the young people. Find your passion and live it. And if your passion is to, be a servant for the people, be a servant. Now, I'm gonna tell people now, if you're interested in running for office because you want pats on the back and you want cheers, and I tell it all the time, please stay home.
Hey, well, and you're not gonna be you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah, please stay home. Please stay home. We're not interested. We have too much work out here to do to make sure, Hoosiers are getting the opportunity to live the life. I cannot believe I forgot that stuff. Teamwork. And we didn't even discuss that.
That's right.
Right? He didn't even I didn't even tell him what I was missing. And that's a smart man.
We're on the same page. That's how many events we've been going to together.
Yes.
That's how often we run into each other.
And I love watching you work your butt off, man.
Thank you.
Love it. I love watching you work.
Too.
because we need that. We need people who are committed, and it's not easy. So, Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. Jim Harper, thank you so much for coming on the show. Giving people an understanding what the office does. Because I think it's important. I know a lot of people understand what the House reps do and some of the senators do. We don't always know what those statewide offices do and what those responsibilities are. So thank you for breaking that down. And elections are very, very important. Businesses, if you want to own a small business, want to start a business, you need to talk to this man. Find out how he can, make changes in that statewide seat. So there's a lot for us to do, right? There's a lot for us to do. And Jim Harper is trying to do his little bit the way he can, the best he can. So he will be on your ballot. All of my listeners in all 92 counties, Jim Harper will be on your ballot. I'm excited. He's got my vote. All right, y'all. Next week, we have the second of 3 statewide candidates. John Aguilera, you guys are going to love him. He's a fun guy. He's an old schooler. He's been around a minute. But I love that we have diversity on our ticket. You're going to love him a lot. Next week, join me, Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left, Radio Next, Officeplex. Did I get it all in?
I
Become a sponsor, y'all. Good night.